everybody, and welcome to the Southern Hemisphere. This Webeo is on a metro system that I've proposed in the city of Johannesburg, which is the largest city of South Africa. Now, Johannesburg is very much underestimated by people who don't live inside Africa. But as you'll see later in this Webeo, Johannesburg is a big city. Lots of density, lots of diversity. I think it is a perfect candidate for an underground metro rail system. So this particular system has two lines. Line 1 is a blue line connecting Mayfair to Troyeville, and it goes under Commissioner Street through the downtown. Line 2 will have two branches, the western branch extending to the University of Johannesburg and the eastern branch extending to Bellevue. Both of them will converge at Park Station, which is a main commuter railway station of Johannesburg, and then it'll go under Joubert Street in downtown before going to the southern suburbs all the way to Rosettenville. So as I said, Johannesburg is a big city. It has a population of around 5 million. Metro population in the district of Gauteng, if I pronounced it correctly, is nearly 13 million. To put in perspective, New York's metropolitan area has 18 million. It's kind of interesting that Johannesburg does not have any metro rail that is underground. Yes, it has BRT, but as you'll see, it has a very high density in its core. Not so much in its suburbs, but in its core especially. Lots of street traffic, lots of people who don't own their own cars. So this is why I think Johannesburg is a perfect candidate for a metro system like this. So without further ado, let's zoom in to line 1, which starts at Mayfair. So here we are at Mayfair. Now Mayfair's primary purpose is to serve as a linkage from the commuter rail line to a new downtown line without having to transfer in the overcrowded Park Station. Mayfair also serves a lot of residential district. The most of this is mostly low density. There's some development nearby, but I do think the majority purpose of Mayfair is to allow people from the commuter rail to directly transfer to line 1 without having to go to Park Station and then rely on line 2 to go to downtown. The next station is much more interesting in its purpose. This is Fordsburg. And why do I like it? Well, it is considered to be the Little India of Johannesburg. So first let's get into the general characteristics of this neighborhood, and then I'll talk about Little India for a little bit. So this is Fordsburg. It's a little higher density than Mayfair, and there's a lot more tenements. There's also Oriental Plaza here, which is a very big mall. It's the biggest mall in downtown Johannesburg. So a lot of pedestrian traffic will be wanting to come here. And keep in mind, Johannesburg is a city and it's not as developed as New York City, for example, even. So majority of residents don't own their own car or vehicle for that matter. So for providing a station at Fordsburg would be a big boon to the local economy. Also, many Indian immigrants live here too. So for them to commute to work in the downtown, it will be much easier to just get on the underground metro at Fordsburg rather than have to go drive or take the BRT, which is much slower. So after Fordsburg, the line will continue. The next station is Westgate. Now Westgate is more of an industrial district. There's some new high-end tenements coming up right here. It's also right under the M1 double-decker motorway, to give a perspective of where that is. So this serves more of like an industrial district here, so many people will be getting off this station rather than on. So the facilities of the station will be more like buses rather than like parking lots. I don't think parking lots will be a big factor in any of the stations, but especially Westgate and the downtown stations, I don't really see a big reason why to put it there. So after Westgate, the line goes into the real downtown. It goes under Commissioner Road. And the next station is Court Street. Court Street is a big banking headquarters. As you can see, there are a lot of high rises nearby. And in this part of downtown Johannesburg, which is like the western part, all of these are offices. They're not much residential here. So as with the last station, most of this is people getting off for work and coming back. There's not much retail in this station either. That's other parts of the line will hit retail. For example, the next station, which is Gandhi Square, will have a lot of retail. It's not the highest retail out of any station in the line, but it's definitely one of the higher retails. It's really close to actual Gandhi Square right here, which is like the central plaza of Johannesburg. It has a big bus station here, lots of high rises. All these buildings are consistently 10 floors or higher. If you zoom down like this onto Commissioner Street, you will see why I was saying Johannesburg is very much underrepresented when it comes to global cities. This is a pretty big city. It looks nearly much like Fifth Avenue, New York City, if you're not given where it is. It serves as the interchange between Line 1 and Line 2, and I think it's a perfect interchange because Gandhi Square is really the center of central Johannesburg. Lots of development, lots of offices, and lots of retail along the square here. So that ensures high foot traffic both on the weekdays and the weekends. This metro won't be a ghost train during the weekends. So after Gandhi Square, the line will continue for 6 more blocks, and the next station is Troyeville Street. Now this station right here is right next to this tower right here. And guess what? This tower called Carlton Center is the tallest building in not only South Africa, but the tallest building in all of Africa as well. I believe it was tallest in the entire southern hemisphere until some buildings in Sydney overtook it recently. But this is a 50-floor tower. It is home to an observation deck called the Top of Africa. And you can get to it right here at Troyeville Street. Now, besides that, there's a lot of other offices here, and this area starts to abut some more residential areas as well. So this is served more as like a mix between commercial and residential. There's also a hotel here, and I believe this is a banking headquarters. So after that station, the line continues for 4 more blocks until it starts to deviate to the north of Commissioner Street and goes to the northeast. And the next station here is Slovo. Now Slovo is right under Joe Slovo Drive, and Joe Slovo Drive is like a big intersection in the eastern part of downtown Johannesburg. So this part immediately has a lot of retail, but just to the north here, there's a lot of tenements. So many people who don't have much access to any railway besides a main railway line here can easily just go to Slovo station and take the train wherever they need to go. After Slovo, the line continues its northeasterly track to Ellis Park. Now Ellis Park is a big stadium. It, I believe, seats 60-something thousand people, and it was used during the World Cup a couple years back. This is also a commuter rail station, so as with the very first station, many people here can just exit at Ellis Park and go to the downtown, rather than having to transfer at Park. So in a way, Ellis Park and Mayfair have very similar purposes. As you can see, the line intersects the commuter railway line at both Mayfair and Ellis Park. So people coming on this line won't have to all converge at Park. It could also show some improvements and local enhancements in the desirabilities of these regions, considering these places will be new commuter hubs. So I could see big commercial districts, especially at Ellis Park, coming up in the near future. Besides the transfer, Ellis Park has some more industry than the other stations, but it has a lot of tenements as well. And after Ellis Park, the final and easternmost station on Line 1 is Troyeville. Troyeville starts to border some single-family homes, maybe that occasional apartment, but it's important to note that this stretches out for a long time. In fact, this road goes to the R24 motorway all the way here. So all this region here is not served by any railway. They could either go down to the commuter railway line, but that's too much for people living in this area here. So I made Troyeville an easy place for people to converge. I think a bus system serving all these outer reaches to Troyeville would be a good idea as well. Allow the buses to have a big terminus at Troyeville and allow people to get onto the underground metro and continue to other places of Johannesburg. So yeah, that's all of Line 1. So I hope you enjoyed it. Now let's go to Line 2. Say what? This is where you're starting the second line? Well, it is one of the branch termini. Look at it, it's a nice suburb. Look at the station name though, University of Johannesburg. Look on the other side. Oh wow, it's a nice university. guess what? University people have a very high propensity to use public transport, especially to go to the high-end boutique shops in downtown. That is exactly the purpose of University of Johannesburg Station, which is located directly under Kingsway Avenue. A lot of students here, I believe the student population is 35,000. All these students, chances are they don't have their own car and they'd be rather willing to take a metro than a bus to go downtown. There's not much in terms of retail and restaurants here, so the traffic going downtown from this campus here is immense. And this is why I made the western terminus of the first branch of Line 2 at the university. The next station also serves the university, in addition to some other places. Auckland Park. Now Auckland Park serves like more the eastern part of the university, for example these dorms here and these other buildings here. It also serves this shopping center here and some residential areas here. It is also right on the M5 road, which connects to many of the northwestern suburbs of Johannesburg. Because all this here, believe it or not, does not have any commuter rail, it would actually make some sense to start a bus system going from the northwest to Auckland Park and allow people to transfer from the bus to the underground line. Now, Kingsway Avenue does have its own BRT, but I do think a metro line will effectively supplement that. So after Auckland Park, the next station is Witsai Centrum, if I pronounce that correctly. Now Witsai Centrum has the broadcast center headquarters here and a lot of other high-rises here. Now these are all office buildings and these are like one of those satellite campuses. So many people from all over, especially from like the urban stations like Ellis Park and Park for example, many of them actually end up working in suburban office complexes like this. But this is close enough to the city center that I do think a station can be built here. It's also right on the way to the University of Johannesburg, so this is why I made a stop here. So this is all an underground line, keep that in mind. The next station is Sunnyside. Now Sunnyside has some more industrial area here, so this will actually be more of like a morning people come out, evening people come in station. People coming from the central part and other lines can get out here and go to work in these areas here. It's also on a major road also coming from the northwestern suburbs of Johannesburg. So after Sunnyside, the line continues and now it enters like the core part. So it goes under the M1 motorway. And this station right here is Witwatersrand. And this is another university. In fact, this and the University of Johannesburg are the two largest universities of South Africa. Now this station, unlike the University of Johannesburg, has a lot of other stuff going for it besides its university presence. It has a lot of retail and it has some couple tenements and even high rises in the region. Not to mention it's really close to the M1 motorway, so building a parking garage for car commuters here and then let them go to the downtown rather than having to find a parking space downtown, I think this would be a good place for them to converge. This station is the first of stations right under Jorison Street. So now this is under Jorison Street, which is like a big commercial street under the northern part of Johannesburg. Now these are again consistent tall buildings. You would not think this would be Johannesburg unless if you knew the city well, or obviously if you're watching this Webeo, I'm telling you it is. But this is Johannesburg and it is a vibrant city. I would like to visit it one day. I've actually not, but it would be cool to visit one day. The next station is Mel, right under Mel Street. Now Mel Street is a mix of residential tenements and offices. So right here there's some tenements, but there are a lot of offices right on Jorison Street. So mix of people coming in, coming out. I think it'll be a high volume station both in the weekdays and the weekends. All these people here can converge onto Mel. Very high population density and very high foot traffic in this region as well. This is why I think Johannesburg needs a metro line. So after Mel, the next station is City Council. And this building right here is a headquarters of the Johannesburg City Council. So many government workers can go to the station and work here. Also, just to its southwest are lots of tall buildings. There's like a 30-floor high-rise here, 15 floors, 20 floors. This is residential, these two are commercial. So these banks and offices are all in the northern part of Johannesburg. So people coming from Park, and this is actually only one station away from Park, can take this metro one stop and get to all their offices here. Now after City Council, the line meets the other branch and it converges at Park. Now before we talk about Park itself, let's go to line 2. Okay Atharva, why aren't you zoomed in Bellevue? It's right here, look at all of this. This is not where the station is. Well, to answer that question, I've zoomed out on purpose. Now Bellevue is a terminus of the eastern branch of line 2, but it serves all this region here. Very much similar to Troyeville, it serves the lack of public transport in the eastern part of urban Johannesburg. So all these people can take a bus system that converges at Bellevue, and then they can transfer to the underground metro line, which takes them to the city center. Immediately Bellevue does have a couple tenements, but it's mostly a single family house area. So I think this will be more of like buses converge from the outside, and Bellevue they go underground. So basically I took you from the outside in the perspective of an actual commuter, which is probably going to be coming from further out rather than immediate. Now Bellevue itself has a couple retail, but I do think this is going to be more of a transfer station from buses. Further out, the economics of building an underground metro wouldn't be feasible, and further out also I think a bus system would be more viable. But Bellevue on metro is a way to go. So the next station is Troyeville, and guess what? It is under Joe Slovo Drive, which is the same Joe Slovo Drive as the Slovo station from earlier. Now this, you'll start to see a mix of single family homes and tenements. So there's a higher density, but it's still mostly residential. So I don't think there'll be a lot of foot traffic here, and this station will be used primarily to get to the shops in the central areas. Speaking of the central areas, let's pan like this and see where the line is going. Now Google Earth doesn't depict this well, but it's really underground. Now, obviously it's not going to cut through all these buildings. I would be honestly heartbroken if it actually cut through all these buildings. That would be sad. Most of my proposals, I want to minimize the destruction made on local communities, and this is how you do it underground. And Johannesburg is big enough and dense enough that you can go underground for an economically feasible price. The next station is Beria. Now Beria has a couple more tenements, but this is like a little higher end area. Just to its northwest is all this right here. These are all people who want to go to downtown frequently, and there's not a lot of retail here, so especially these people want to go to downtown. They can just walk 2 blocks to Beria station and take the metro further down. It's also close to this tower right here, the broadcasting tower. So fun fact right there, I believe the broadcasting tower is even taller than the Carlton Center downtown right there. So after Beria, the line continues underground at a 45-degree angle relative to the roads. Now speaking of angle, this line will be a deep line. It won't be a cut and cover line because the lines don't necessarily go with the streets. Not to mention, street economy is a big part of Johannesburg, and closing major streets to build lines wouldn't work. So I think a deep tube line will be the most feasible solution. It won't be as deep as a Washington Metro, obviously. That has like 200 feet deep stations in some parts. I think this will be more like London Tube deep. So the next station is Hillbrow. Now Hillbrow is a big commercial district. Lots of high rises here. These are all high-end condominiums, and immediately there's some offices, but this is also a big retail district. And another thing you'll learn is that line 2 covers a lot more retail than line 1. Line 1 serves more of the offices. Line 2 serves more of the retail and residential. I actually found a better time envisioning line 2 as opposed to line 1. And line 2 is also much longer. So you may be wondering, why did I call this line 2? Well, line 1 I still think should be built first. That's like the principal west to east through downtown Johannesburg line. Line 2 is also very vital for the city, but I do think line 1 will have a higher density of passengers than line 2. And after Hillbrow, that's it. The eastern branch was much shorter than the western branch, right? They both converge at Park. Now I think Park will be an underground station, dual level, each with 1 track, so it supports the flying junction right here easily, going to the northwest branch or the northeast branch. Park is a big hub. It is a main railway station of Johannesburg, and it is also the southern terminus of the GO train, which connects Johannesburg all the way to the airport and Pretoria. Pretoria is the capital of South Africa. It's located around 60 kilometers northeast of Johannesburg. So all these people can converge on Park, assuming they don't use Mayfair or Ellis Park. They can converge on Park and take line 2 to wherever they need to go. So after Park, the line enters a real downtown, and here we go. 5 blocks later is Kirk Street. Kirk Street is a road converted plaza, so think of like Times Square in New York almost. Now this is nowhere near as extreme in terms of foot traffic as that, but there's still a lot of foot traffic here. Kirk Street has a lot of shops nearby, and also a nearby Pritchard Street. This is the main shopping road of Johannesburg. So all these people in this region here can converge to Kirk Street and then go out to their shops and offices nearby. There's a lot of offices here. There are a couple of retail and residential as well on this side. Most of it is office and retail on the south side right here. After Kirk Street, past the South Africa flag. Remember, this is Johannesburg, and you would never think Johannesburg is this big unless you've actually visited there. It is bigger than you think, trust me. In fact, Africa as a whole is bigger than you think. The next station is Gandhi Square. As I said, this is where it'll intersect line 1, big hub of retail and offices. After Gandhi Square, the line continues south, and the next station is Marshalltown. Now Marshalltown is like the southern end of the Johannesburg Central Business District, but this is still the business district. Just to its west are some big headquarters of offices right here. Another tower here, lots of like office towers, some residential as well, but as with Court Street, Marshalltown is much more offices than residential. Now the next station is after the M2 motorway. It goes under that, so this is like a big separator from the downtown to the outskirts. And Village Main is the next station. It's also an easy transfer to the Village Main commuter railway station, so people coming from the south and southwestern suburbs can easily connect here and go to downtown, as this line goes under Eloff Street all the way to Park railway station without stopping anywhere in the middle. I think a majority people can use this station to their advantage. Lots of industry here as well. Village Main may not be a big area now, but I think as a future transfer hub, it has huge potential. So after Village Main, the line goes further south. Next station is Stafford. Very similar situation to Village Main. Lots of warehouses and industry here, so a lot of people will be coming here for work. Also, these people are generally lower income people, so I think allowing them to use a metro will make their lives a lot better than having to save up for a car or using an overcrowded bus. So after Stafford, the line continues for a solid 1.9 kilometers all the way to La Rochelle. La Rochelle is the hub of couple tenements and mostly residential houses. And after La Rochelle, the final stop and southernmost station on the entire Johannesburg metro is at Rosettenville. Now, Rosettenville serves all this region right here. You don't see a railway line. Rosettenville, Bellevue, and Troyeville are each the respective termini of their line. They're also each in relatively low density areas, but at the same time, they have so much potential for bus traffic coming from the outer areas, not to mention car traffic. Building some type of parking garage will be much easier to do at Rosettenville than further inland, for example, at Marshalltown. So immediately Rosettenville does have a couple retail places here. There's also a couple smaller apartments here too, but mostly it's a residential area. It's more of like a working class area too, so most of these people will not have as many private vehicles as the people in other parts we have visited. So that concludes line 2. Now let's zoom out and see from where we have come. So there you have it, 2 lines serving a major metropolis. Line 1, which has a length of 5.61 kilometers, going from the commuter hub of Mayfair through downtown and through Ellis Park and at Troyeville, where many people from the further east suburbs can converge on a bus. Line 2, which has a length of 9.89 kilometers, also has two branches, one going to the universities of Witwatersrand and the University of Johannesburg, the other serving the shopping districts and condo districts of Hillbrow and Berea, further continuing on to Bellevue, which has a very similar position to Troyeville in that it serves the northeastern suburbs of Johannesburg that are underserved currently by any railway. It was a pleasure to make this video, honestly. I've never visited the southern hemisphere, and I think this is the closest you could get to it. This Webeo took quite a bit of work. Unlike India, I've never visited South Africa. I had to research all the demographic trends, and I think I did a decent job. Now keep in mind, decent job. People, locals especially, may have some improvements. This is just a suggestion. I want people to agree and disagree with my proposals. What do you want to see improve? Please leave that in the comments. My ideas are just a source of discussion, nothing else. I'm not forcing this onto anyone. I just want this to be an option that people can view that will benefit the city of Johannesburg as a whole. So with that said, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure on making this metro and visiting Johannesburg essentially almost. But yeah, thank you so much. I hope see you guys soon. Goodbye.